Hello and welcome to That's a Wrap. My name is Anthony Gentry, and joining me today is
Austin Jameson. Hello.
That was a pretty small hello.
Your brain's in overdrive trying to think of these segues, aren't they?
What?
Isn't it?
My brain is going large right now. It's going giant.
Big brain.
Giant brain. Giant man. Speaking of giant man, we have a few trailers to talk about before we go in.
Okay.
Good
start.
We are talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Nope.
Just that one.
It's Ant-Man
we're watching
and the Wasp Quantumania.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about Ant-Man, like the first one.
We're talking about ants.
Ants.
Ant-Man. Yeah, we will be talking about Ant-Man Quantumania. Is it Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, or is it Ant-Man? That's whack. Okay, yeah, no, you're totally right though.
Why would they change it from the last one?
I don't know. Why isn't it Ant-Man and the... Never mind. Well, that's not a spoiler.
And
we'll
talk about it, because maybe there's a reason they should have just called it Ant-Man.
I also do want to say, for this week's Last of Us discussion, we will be spoiling it. We spoil every episode, but I do want to throw that in early this time.
We give ourselves 7.5 minutes to do it.
Around there, yeah, usually. Yeah. But anyways, we do have a couple of trailers to talk about. So
let's start out with one for a movie that's coming out pretty soon, and that's Creed 3.
Yes.
Austin, what do you think about this?
I think the trailers have really, I've never seen any of the Rocky or Creed movies.
Yeah.
But the trailers make me want to study. I think this movie looks like it's very real.
You should definitely at least watch the Creed movies.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know. Also it should be said that Jonathan Majors is definitely getting his paycheck this year.
Yeah, I can't believe 2 back-to-back King movies.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. Jonathan Majors is a really good actor. And so is Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
and it looks really, really good actually.
No, you should watch the Creed movies, see how grounded they are, and then immediately go to Rocky 4, where he ends the Cold War.
Yeah.
Through boxing.
Well, first of all, spoiler alert. Second of all,
haven't seen it by now,
I just told you I haven't seen any of the Creed or Rocky movies. So now I think the Cold War is going to happen in Rocky 4, and that's your fault, Anthony.
No, the Cold War's already going on.
Well, no, I think it's going to keep going. I did think it was going to anyways. I think this trailer looks good. What do you think, Anthony?
It's a good trailer.
All right, so
no, I thought it was a great trailer. If you've been listening to any of our past few podcasts, you'll know I am extremely excited for this movie. I love the Rocky franchise, mainly because I have not watched Rocky 5. I've only seen the good ones.
I've only seen one Rocky movie, actually.
Which one?
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sylvester Stallone does a really good job in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, again.
But no, it's a great franchise. I love it so much, and the Creed movies just elevate it in a way that you don't expect a legacy sequel to do. But yeah, I'm so excited for this, especially with Michael B. Jordan directing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good parallel of the Rocky movies and how Sylvester Stallone eventually started directing those.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm super excited for it. Mm-hmm. It looks great.
Yeah, I definitely want to go watch the other ones before Creed 3.
Definitely. Yeah, we got 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay. It is coming out soon. What are we talking about next, Anthony?
We are talking about a trailer for a movie that's a little ways off, I think. It's another live-action remake of a Disney classic.
Love them. Gotta love them.
Who knows? Maybe this one will be different. And of course, we are talking about The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Before we get into that, I want to ask you. I saw news about another Disney live-action remake. Zach Galifianakis is going to star in Lilo and Stitch.
As?
I don't... everyone. Lilo. I don't know.
Okay. I need to know who... What?
I saw someone say, what if he's, the green alien?
Uh-huh.
Which is, okay.
Okay. Man, they need... Okay. You can bring back all your little Disney, actual animated classics. The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. I don't care. But, Lilo and Stitch, I feel like still holds itself so well.
It does, yeah.
Well, all of these should really remain untouched, but it doesn't matter. The graves are getting dug up, and it's Mr. Krabs.
Let's move
Money.
to Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
What do you think of this really short 30-second trailer?
I don't know, man. I'm sure it's gonna be fine. You have hit musical creator Lin-Manuel Miranda working on it with creating new original songs.
Really?
Do you not know that?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
No, he's making new original songs for the Little Mermaid. Obviously we have David.
Bring him in for every new Disney movie.
Well, yeah, he's the guy.
That's why Strange World wasn't all that great.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying anything. But yeah,
he did a similar review to me.
Well, no, yeah, I mean it was bad, but I don't think it lacking Lin-Manuel Miranda was the reason.
Yeah,
but like David Diggs is going to be in this.
World.
Stop. I'm gonna have to ask you to stop right there, Anthony. David Diggs is obviously also in it.
Yeah,
I'm sure he will be rapping.
We got our first look at Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, she's got the laugh pretty well. I don't. Otherwise,
it was
it's
super
like,
short, so you didn't really see much. But
Yeah.
it was like, okay, could be good.
It could be good. I'm sure it's gonna be like.
The visuals are amazing.
Are they?
They are, yeah.
The underwater scenes.
Don't compare it to Avatar. But
it's the same. Well, it's not the same.
yeah.
But listen.
Halle Bailey, her voice, amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like.
I mean,
the ultimate thing is that this movie didn't need to exist, but it's gonna come out and people are gonna come see it, and it's gonna do well, and then Disney's gonna make another live action remake. What have they not butchered yet? Probably like there's like Pocahontas. I know, or they did a live action Mulan.
Yeah.
They did. I'm trying to think
Fox
of the
and the
older
Hound.
ones. Is Iron Giant DreamWorks or is that
It's,
is it
Warner
Universal?
Brothers.
That's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, it is Warner Brothers. You're totally right. I'd love to see
I can't
it.
think of because they did Dumbo. They're doing Snow White with
Yeah.
Rachel Ziegler.
Right. They're
I
running
don't
out.
know.
What are they gonna do when they run out?
They're doing Hercules.
Are they doing Hercules?
I think Danny DeVito is coming back.
Well,
too.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
I have no complaints
As
there.
Hercules. No,
I have no complaints
I
there.
don't. I would not.
Why?
I mean, what if they do like a live action Chicken Little?
No, that just nothing makes sense
Yeah.
anymore.
They
I'm
just
losing my
haven't
grasp on
touched-
reality.
Well, except for Lilo and Stitch now, I guess they haven't done the 2000s movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're like
we're
Brother
we're
Bear.
literally gonna get to a point where it's just like cycling because we're gonna get 20 years from now and they're gonna do a Big Hero 6 live action remake.
Oh,
and
definitely. That is definitely coming.
It's like what do you?
Frozen remake.
Yeah, Tangled. Like they're just gonna start like we live in a vicious cycle where the mouse gets the money, and that's what you got to live with. Anyways, Little Mermaid.
It's good.
It looks alright. I
Moving
know
on.
Lin-Manuel Miranda yet, but I'm sure we'll get a cameo.
Our next trailer
Yes.
is probably like the smallest of these three movies,
Yeah,
but looks the most exciting,
definitely.
and that is Tetris.
Yeah.
Austin, did you know this movie was coming out?
I had no idea.
I heard about it like I think a year ago.
Mhm.
Like they're making a Tetris movie. Like why?
Uh-huh.
You watch this trailer, you see Taron Egerton as this guy like trying to get the rights to Tetris,
Mhm.
and you see like produced by Matthew Vaughn, and you know you're in for a treat.
What has
It's
Matthew Vaughn done?
Kingsman.
Oh. Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
that explains why Taron Egerton is there. Okay.
Yeah. This movie looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of nowhere, and then just the whole like Cold War edge
Uh-huh.
to it all, and like him having to sneak into Russia.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous, but also I can't wait to see this movie and see how it goes.
It like gives me it 1 second. Loaded. It reminds me of or the vibe of the like last Stranger Things season. Just immediately
Yeah.
off the top of my head, or just like with Russia. I don't know. It looks like it's gonna be goofy, but also like goofy fun. But it's like here's another. It's also like a spy thriller, but it's about Tetris. So you have to like you can't take it completely seriously. But
It's rated R too.
it looks super duper good. I hope they lean into that. I think there is ultimately just, it's based on a true story.
It is, yeah.
There's a lot of potential they have here to like actually sit there and play with.
I love how they like remix the Tetris soundtrack
Yeah.
in this trailer.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like a good time.
Comes out in just a little over a month away.
These are all coming out so quick. Time moves too fast.
Yeah. Only on Apple.
Only on Apple TV. Anyways, I don't really got anything else to say about that.
I don't either.
We might be looking at a shorter episode today, but we'll see how Ant-Man spans.
Whenever we talk about Marvel, it always goes longer than anticipated.
That is true.
But before we do that,
yes,
let's move on to our weekly segment now.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks in? The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what it was called?
Kin.
Yes. Episode 6, Kin. As we said before, we are going to spoil this episode.
Yes.
We will not spoil what happens after. Nothing like that happens in the game or the second game. Only what happens in this and maybe something that happened in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But that's it. Do you have your timer set?
Yep. I'm going to start my little stopwatch, and whenever I say the magic words, go ahead and skip forward 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And by then, we hopefully should have been stopped by then.
And if not, we'll let you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and start my timer. All right.
Austin.
Yes.
This episode, or this show,
yeah,
just keeps bringing it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they could, like, enhance it even more, especially this part of the show. But they did.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with making Joel so vulnerable with that scene with Tommy.
Right.
It just humanizes him more. It's something that they couldn't really go into in the game, because with that you have to have like gameplay and stuff. And so you can't really have a bunch of these quiet moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this show is exceeding in. Like the scene at the beginning with them just talking to those strangers who may not even know what's going on in the world. And then to him meeting up with Tommy, or even before that with like the group being surrounded, to being with Tommy, and everything that happens in this episode, it's so good. It's so like just rich with writing and detail, and it's so good. It's so good.
I completely agree. I think this show has continuously like demonstrated how it's very, very good at writing humanity. I think like every interaction feels ultimately so human.
Yeah.
And I like, especially with everything with Tommy and Pedro Pascal just like stealing the show, especially in this like in this episode alone, because they are like one of the opening moment with the like cowboys or the horses surrounding them, and him not saying or doing anything. It was like, that was a really impactful moment for me. I think that was like, it was acted really well. And then it's called back to later in the episode, and I'm glad they like showcased that, because like,
we're talking about like the panic attacks he's having,
or not the panic attacks, but him saying like, I didn't say anything. I just stood there and I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Like him showing how upset he was about that perfectly matched how he acted in the moment and what I took from it. And like that validated like those two elements together, I think worked super duper well.
And even like, it's also a callback to the very first episode when he goes crazy on the guard. It's like, oh, like I was so scared he was going to like try to shoot or kill all of these people.
Right.
And then he doesn't. And it's like, oh, he is not getting weaker, but getting more emotional.
Yeah.
Like because of his attachment to Ellie. Because they've been together for like maybe 4 months now.
Yeah. It's definitely like, and they continue to really well demonstrate the bond between Ellie and Joel. And this episode is meant to test that, and I think they do a super good job of it there too. Man, it's great.
Yeah. I do have 2 criticisms with this episode. Mainly the end, I feel, was a little rushed in how it would just like beat for beat for beat. But it still got me.
Right.
It still hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the actress who plays Tommy's wife, it was just that one scene when she was cutting Ellie's hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like the delivery of some of the lines felt a little stiff. But I don't think it's on her. I feel like that was the direction.
I agree.
Because in one of those after episode interviews, like you hear her and she sounds like she doesn't sound like stiff when she's talking. She just sounds regular. And so I'm like, okay, so that feels like a direction part, not like a performance issue.
I mean, she was a district attorney,
She
so
was,
she had to be a little bit boring.
Not boring, but just like, oh,
stale.
You are Austin. I am Anthony. We are doing a podcast.
I don't think it was that bad.
Like,
I think I had no quarrels with the performance. Okay. I think it worked really well for her character and how
maybe I was just like nitpicking. But...
yeah, you're a hater, Anthony. We've established this for many episodes now.
Yes, of course. I am the hater.
You're the hater.
What did you think about that ending though?
Yeah, it does happen really quickly. I think the show is in a really interesting position right now. Because there's the people who, I'm not going to say anything. There's the people who played the games. There's the people who are watching it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think the show has been very like liberal with how willing to kill off characters it has been. Like, I know like my parents thought Sarah was going to be the main character. I know they thought that Tess was going to be there for longer. I know they thought Sam and Henry were going to join them. So the audacity to do something like that, my parents' reaction to it at least was like, now what?
The last of her.
Exactly. I do think it was rushed, but I think the suddenness of it kind of is what they were going for. Sure. I just don't think it was executed to its highest standard.
The fight scene could have lasted longer.
Yeah.
But then everything after is like,
why didn't they like take the horse or let go of the horse? Like they used it as like a trap or something. Or maybe he just noticed and the random guy came over there and I don't know. I think it was very awkward.
I think it is better to see the horse be like, this is their horse, and instead of letting it go so they are trapped.
But like, where were the other three? Where were the other three? It wasn't a trap.
I mean, it could have been one of them because there were only 4 of them. One of them was going to stand guard, and the other 3 were also like searching around the campus.
I guess so.
I don't know.
I think that's whack.
I really love how they did that moment because in the game, something similar happens, but it's an accident how Joel gets injured, and then in this, it is directly correlating to his fear of being too weak, of not like having the hearing that he had or the instincts that he had before,
right?
And why it proves Joel right that Tommy probably should have gone, because maybe Tommy could have heard the guy sneak up behind him, but instead Joel didn't, and now who knows? Like Ellie doesn't have a protector anymore,
right? I don't know. And I think they're in a I think they're in a very pivotal point of the show. I think they really are in the home stretch. We got 3 more episodes. I'm excited for all of those to probably be hours upon hours long because I don't have anything better to do with my time. It's not bad, but I have a life.
I did say before I am worried about how they're going to fit everything in the last few episodes. I'm not worried anymore.
Okay, fair enough. I'm completely in the blind now. I don't know. The only thing I remembered anymore was Tommy's little, like, his settlement. And now I don't know what happens next. I don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like you say that every week.
Yeah, well, I see the episode and then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot it, or I remember now.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll happen next week.
There's one word that we're at 7.5. So I'm gonna go
30
ahead.
30 more seconds.
30. Well, I won't say anything else from now. I think we're mostly done with our discussion.
Okay. Text me the word you're thinking.
I will. And I believe it's the moment. It's the only one that moment that I know. But
okay, yeah.
That's all I remember now. Like otherwise,
Okay.
everything is mostly in the dark.
Good.
But anyways, thank you all. Thank you. Welcome back. For those who skipped over that segment, it was a good segment. So go watch Last of Us and come on back. But yeah,
Can't believe they had like a whole musical episode. You know.
well, every show, Anthony, the time's up. We're not supposed to talk about it anymore.
Yes.
Okay.
You're right.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Just Joel Solo. I
And
loved
like
it.
Matthew Morrison
Yeah.
showed
As
up
a
from
clicker.
it was like a really weird cameo.
It
They had
was.
they had most of the new directions there from Glee actually.
Yeah.
So
Jane Lynch too.
Jane Lynch would fit right into this world so well.
Just as Sue Sylvester.
Yeah, but that's the way Sue sees it.
Anyway, let's move on to our main topic of the show, and that is ants.
Ants.
Ant-Man.
Ants.
Ants.
Okay. Yeah, it's Ant-Man. It's the new Ant-Man movie. It's the new
Ant-Man
Marvel
and the
movie.
Wasp, Quantumania.
I feel like we need to have like a button. We need to have a soundboard that we hit whenever we talk about MCU, and it's like a siren. It's like warning. We're about to talk about MCU. It's probably not going to be. Well, let's see. You start your segment. What do you think?
Austin.
What are you talking about?
In the weeks leading up to
Yep.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania,
Yeah.
we have described this movie as the make it or break it for Marvel for us.
Yeah.
So Austin, did it make it or did it break it?
Anthony and I saw this movie with you last night.
Yes.
And I didn't obviously I didn't spoil my thoughts, but I was leaning towards like it's very mediocre.
Okay.
But honestly, I would say this kind of broke it. Like it's less than average even of a Marvel movie. I'd say it's better than some of the other stuff. Like this movie was better than Thor: Love and Thunder or Doctor Strange Multiverse.
Okay.
But it was still really really rough. Marvel is like every movie is the same. Every like script is every line is predictable. It feels like there's a quota they have to meet for like just so many things. It doesn't feel like they're writing an original story. It feels like they're writing a Marvel movie. That's what this feels like. It wasn't like a strictly terrible film. It had a somewhat cohesive plot. One of my concerns that I'll get more into in a little bit was that it was going to be too dark. I don't think they did that. I think they did a good job of trying to keep it light, but at the same time, now like after seeing the movie, and I told this to you yesterday, I'm wondering if it should have been more serious. And I haven't fully decided that for myself yet. But like in the end, it's a Marvel movie. If you like Marvel, you'll like this one. It's Paul Rudd. You can't really go wrong with Paul Rudd.
You really can. Yeah, you know what? I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah.
I completely disagree. This is the best Marvel movie ever.
Yeah.
This is
Keep
a
talking.
10 out of 10.
Go on.
This is actually my favorite movie
Really?
of all
Is it?
time.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of like every movie, not Marvel.
Any movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Ants. It has ants.
God, I do love the ants.
I am, of course, as always, lying. This movie, I agree with you in some ways, and I disagree with you. I think it is right on mediocre. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I think it's straight on mediocre. I do agree it is better than some of the recent Marvel movies. I don't think it's better than Wakanda Forever, but yeah, this movie, it's rough.
I don't know, man.
For me, a lot of the things that takes away from it is just the story, because the trailers promise you one thing that seems very interesting. And and when I talked about it in our trailer talks, I said I feel like this has promise because it seems like they're keeping the core of this movie, Scott and Cassie, which is what they should do, because that's been like basically the core of the other two Ant-Man movies.
Right.
The core of this movie is Marvel, not Scott and Cassie. It's like a side story basically, but it's mainly to push forward Marvel. And that's where it just stumbles. There's when I initially watched this, I thought it was also very rushed.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking they're not giving enough time, like scenes to breathe. They just want to get to the next scene, and they're doing whatever they can to get there, even if it feels forced. Especially the beginning and how they get to the quantum realm. But we'll get to that later. And then I looked back, and I was thinking, you know what? That first half is actually really slow. It builds on characters that you don't really care for, that they don't give you a reason to care for, and it's just all over the place for no reason. Like complete scenes that could have been cut out, and it wouldn't have made a difference to the movie. And then once they get to the actually engaging parts, it's too little, too late.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this movie has some all-time like great MCU moments, but it also has some really weak MCU moments. I do think, like you said, the humor is a lot more balanced than something like Thor, and it is better.
Yeah.
Not all the humor works, like the whole guy. It not all of it's great.
You know, that was the guy from, or like the guy who voiced the whole guy was.
Yeah, even the
what's
first
his
two
name?
in Polka Dot Man.
Yes.
Which it's also a shame that like his crew isn't there. I didn't really miss them.
That didn't like clock
but
for me until this morning.
The only people I missed were Cassie's mom and stepdad.
Yeah, I didn't even think
I
about
wish
that
they
either.
were in it.
I agree. This movie definitely stepped away from the theme of family. I guess I'm just gonna have to get that from Fast X now.
Yeah. The best way to get it.
True. But like, I think the other movies are so charming because it's Paul Rudd interacting with his family, and in the entire movie, it feels like it's Ant-Man being Ant-Man. It doesn't feel like Scott Lang, as much as it feels like like a superhero.
Yeah.
I feel like we lose a lot of the personality. Like we keep the like Paul Rudd quips and whatnot, but I feel like Scott's like actual personality of like family first kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels forced, and it feels like obligation rather than like actual conflict, and that's partly due to the plot of the movie, which is what you were talking about earlier with being misled, because there is like, it's very like the way it is shown in the trailers does not represent the plot of this movie very well.
If we want to give like the basic plot, it is basically, I think, a year, I want to say, after Endgame. Scott's written like a book. He's going around gallivanting, being like, I save the world, I save the world. He's like a household name at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie is like a jailbird in and out of prison for reasons I don't think they get into in the trailer.
She was at a... Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I in the trailer. I was like, yeah, they definitely explain it.
It was because of this.
Yeah.
And then Cassie, because she's a teenager in the MCU, obviously she's a scientific genius.
Yes.
And she creates a way to send signals down to the quantum realm. Something goes wrong. They all get sucked down. And now they're stuck. They have to get out. And their only chance is through this mysterious figure named Kang.
Yeah.
And the only way Kang will help them is if Scott gets something that Kang wants.
Mm-hmm.
But can he trust him? Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's not how it goes. That's not how the movie goes. That's what the trailers tell you. And
it's ultimately just really like boring. There's a lot. Whenever we get into the spoilers, there's a lot I do want to talk about with the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just it's eye rolling kind of stuff. Especially you brought up a good point that there's so many characters they introduce like spitballing at
for
you
no reason,
and it's like, I don't care about any of these. Like literally, what you just showed me was that the quantum realm is so small and so insignificant that nobody knows this place exists, and also there's like infinite levels to it. So it's like, why do these guys matter?
Yeah.
And they don't, they were just the token freedom fighters, and we don't
those people. I feel like they should have cut that part out. completely.
then you lose half your movie, and that's just unfortunate because
And
it's uninteresting.
We'll get to that in the spoiler section of how I wanted this movie to go.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I don't want to judge from expectation versus reality, so I'm not judging based on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I am judging the structure of it and the part that they did choose to focus on so much, which was the freedom fighter stuff.
Yeah.
Just didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Some positives, because I don't want to be just all negative. MODOK is
what?
let me start.
Go on.
MODOK is in this movie, and they play him as a joke, which is what they should have done. And for the most part, it does work.
I think the words positive and MODOK do not go in the same sentence.
His look is god awful.
Yeah, that's MODOK though.
Yeah, that is MODOK, but I think the actual like animation of it was also bad too. They could have animated it in a way that looked good, but it was ugly.
I expected them to have the mask on more.
I was glad they didn't, because it looks so atrocious, and that was part of the joke.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought like they did a good job of handling that tone of him, because it could have been way too silly, or just play him way too straight.
Mm-hmm.
I also Paul Rudd, of course. Like, he is Paul Rudd. He's going to make anything he's in better.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, a certain scene, or a certain two scenes that I can't really talk about right now. I also really like how one of the best parts of these movies is not Hank and his obsession with his ants. Ants.
Yeah.
And they bring it forward in here, too. And it's dumb, but in a good way. Like, it fits with his character, and it's so funny.
It is truly the only arc fits. I care about. However, I do agree that it's dumb and doesn't serve a purpose, and he's a side character. Like, he's not even a side character, he's a static character. And that's, like, that's another thing, is that I don't think any of the characters really change in this one. At least not significantly. Like, I don't.
No.
I don't. I'm reading through the movie again in my head, and none of the characters are changed.
No, they all stay the same. I even both times, because I watched this twice. The second time was with you, and it was also because I wanted to get a clearer thoughts.
Yeah.
And both times, when the third act started, or I guess not even that, like the climax of the movie started, I was, like, just surprised. It came out of nowhere both times, because I was like, wait, we're ending this right now? It feels like we're supposed to be just beginning.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things... Oh, by the way, Jonathan Majors, we have not brought him up whatsoever, except for Creed.
Come in until, like, halfway through the movie.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
He did a great job, though. I want to say he is probably the standout of the movie.
Yeah.
If Marvel has anything going for it for me now, it's Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I agree. He did a really good job in this film. He did a really good... Excuse me. He did a really good job in Loki. I think they did a decent job of, you didn't really have to watch Loki to understand this, but it certainly helped.
Yeah.
It kind of it put a lot of things into perspective.
It's how, like,
however,
we were able to rationalize a lot of things in our discussion at the end.
Yeah, that's true, but also I now realize that a lot of the lines I interpreted earlier in the film were wrong, because I thought he was referring to other things.
Okay, we'll get into it.
We'll save that.
This is a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And with a Marvel movie, you get action. One of the best things about the first Ant-Man and the second Ant-Man is how creative the action was. Because you have a special kind of hero who can shrink down and grow. And with that, you change perspectives. You see how they see the world.
Right.
And it's such a unique way to showcase combat, and just how, like, fluid it is and everything, like the choreography of it all. In this movie, you maybe change perspective twice, But mainly, if they shrink down, you stay perspectives, so you just see them super tiny, and that really let me down. Because then it turned into just generic action moments, not something super unique that I am engaged with.
That's a really good point. One of the main appeal of the superhero franchise is that it's superheroes. I super agree that any of the main combat in this, what they literally have a bit where it's just jump and tap, and that's it. So it's like,
well, even that, like,
and that's it.
I liked that moment as a character moment.
Well, yeah,
but like
that's all how they. That's the only way they fight. And also, I brought this up to you yesterday, but now I'm gonna put it in the hot seat. How on earth what are the actual rules of his shrinking and growing?
I think it's proportional.
Well,
I don't want to get
too
much into this because we did spend a lot of time yesterday talking about it.
That's fine.
But so I think, because if you compare to like a Celestial, Scott Lang is not a like normal sized person. Even when he's giant, he's still pretty tiny. So it's all just proportional to how we view things. And
but
how
what do you mean?
In our world. Like, I think like he's gonna.
So you think it's like a set, like if he grows big, he only grows 3% bigger than he is now?
Probably, yeah. Like he grows 3 times bigger or like 10 times smaller than what he currently is.
You don't think he gets to pick the size he goes to?
He might have like a slider or something.
Well, he
I don't
totally
know.
does. We saw it in the second movie when he turns into the kindergartner.
That's true.
We know it can go wrong. And we know he can like pick a specific size, so he's just like a little action figure too.
That's true. But I do think there is a set size. Because like in some parts of the movie, he'll keep shrinking and shrinking or growing and growing.
Uh-huh.
And so I think it's a set amount like compared to where he is right now.
Okay. Anyways, the main reason I bring this up, and it's not spoiling anything, but like any of the times he uses Giant Man, he gets larger, but I'm like, why doesn't he get even larger? Like he could literally, because if the like movie takes place in the quantum realm where everything's already super duper tiny, that means he has that whole range from regular human to quantum realm that he could pick from. Or it's probably not that easy, I guess.
I don't think it's that. No.
Well, Well, how did he come back from the first movie? Okay. Oh my God, I have so many questions because nothing makes sense. Nothing is. I don't think anything makes sense. In the first movie, he goes to the quantum realm on accident. Because he shrinks super with his fight with Darren at the end. He shrinks super duper small. But then he takes the blue discs. And he takes like 3 or 4 of them and slams it on himself. And that's how he comes back. And he pops back perfectly back to normal size. And I can't talk about the second half of this argument.
That is true.
Because it's not something that is really spoiler free.
Do you have any more spoiler free talk? Or
not really. I'm super happy to go into spoilers early if you want.
How would you rate this?
I gave this movie a 2.5 on Letterboxd. I'd probably give it like a 50. Maybe like a 55. It wasn't very good.
I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm. I gave it a 2.5 on Letterboxd. I am at a 50 out of 100. Okay. Just straight down the middle, mediocre.
Well, if your mediocre is 50, then I'm 45. This movie has a lot of work to do, and it's a Marvel movie. It is just a fact.
And I do think it does have some really good moments, but too many bad moments too.
I don't know. I wasn't too impressed myself, but Anthony,
Austin,
yeah.
I want to see if I'll be impressed with your guess of the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Good one. Okay.
Thank you. So what's the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Oh, you're okay.
I have it up. Okay.
The critics score, it's going to be 65. The audience is 72. No, audience is 71. 65, 71.
Austin.
Yep.
For critics, you said 65%.
I did.
With 318 reviews.
Okay.
It has 48%.
Okay.
The second Rotten Marvel movie I think only behind Eternals, which I think is like 1 point lower. I think I read that somewhere.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Rotten Tomatoes also, or what did they give like the newest Thor and Doctor Strange? That's the
Like the 60s.
that's
yeah.
the real decider.
Yeah.
Because this movie was better than that. Well, they
I'd
were
say
all
it
really
was.
bad. I'd say it was better, but that's only because Paul Rudd was in this one.
Yeah. Do you want to change your audience score with
Yeah.
that knowledge?
We'll do 65 for audience.
All right.
Let's see if that was a good idea or not.
For audience, you said 65.
Yep.
With over 5,000 verified ratings.
Okay.
You have been off both ways. You should have kept the first one.
Is it higher?
84%.
Man, I give up.
Oh, by the way, critics' consensus.
Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, mostly lacks the spark of fun that elevated earlier adventures, but Jonathan Majors' Kang is a thrilling villain poised to alter the course of the MCU. Will we be here for that?
Like,
I don't know.
that consensus literally lines out the issue with this movie and every Marvel movie right now is that it's
just
laying
worried
out
about what's
stuff for the
next.
MCU.
Yeah. I'm good to go into
yeah.
spoilers.
Let's do it. Thank you all for listening. Next week we
Next
got
week, Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine
The
Bear.
start of the good movies, hopefully.
Actually, though. So that's
you
really
can follow
exciting.
us at That's a Wrap NCR on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah. That's where you're gonna find most of our updates. Is usually the Instagram.
Usually, yeah.
And if
I
you
forgot to make a post about this one, but
that's okay. It's man. Everybody knows. Everybody knows we're here. We're pretty popular.
we are.
So thank you all. We're gonna go start spoilers now. In 5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
Let's go.
Okay, Janet. We see in the first Ant-Man movie that he uses the blue ones on himself to get out of the quantum realm.
Yeah.
We know we saw her use them on the sphere. Why doesn't it work on her?
I know
Is
she
my
said
question.
you couldn't see past like subatomica or whatever at the very beginning. So I wonder if he was in like the outer layer of the quantum realm.
I guess.
Also, one of the things that I did not even bring up at all because I knew it was a spoiler. They are using the time dilation too much as a plot convenience device.
Mm-hmm.
With Endgame, it was fine because it made sense. Like, okay, he's been gone for 5 years. For him, it felt like 5 hours. That was the way to like figure out how to fix this all.
Yeah.
But then with this, it's like, okay, so why does Janet like go through time the same way that we do, and why does like no time change for them in this movie? But it does for the ants because they needed the ants to be more advanced. So they're like, oh, let's just put them through time dilation. Like, it feels like it's now becoming a plot device.
I do agree that it's complete BS. I don't think they claim that time worked normally for Janet. I would assume that her 35, like she was gone for 35 years in their time, but in Janet's time, I imagine it was less.
I feel like it was also 30 years.
Well, that just doesn't make sense then. Because I agree, that just doesn't make sense then, and I agree it's BS.
No,
then.
like why not?
Huh?
Why doesn't that make sense?
Or just like why would Scott being in the quantum realm skip 5 years and 5 minutes?
Yeah.
When she's like visually 35 years older.
Well,
now.
they do explain it was like the time dilation, but it's like you're using that too much now for just convenience.
The whole gimmick with this series or this trilogy, anyways, is the word quantum in front of everything. So nothing matters. Technology makes sense. Every 14-year-old or higher is a genius who can invent a portal to the quantum realm on accident.
Oops.
It's I don't know.
I liked MODOK's death scene.
MODOK was stupid.
At least I died in Avenger. That was funny. At least.
Yeah, but I'm so done with Marvel, man.
Yeah.
It's that. It's not. It wasn't very like it was. It was Marvel comedy.
Yeah, the two moments I said I liked from Paul Rudd were when he's in like the probability storm and that how they solved it, where there's only one probability now, and that's to save Cassie. I was like, that's a really great character moment and like such a cool visual, especially when the Wasp catches him. And at the very end, when he is mad and he's like, Kang, you took my daughter, we had a deal, and he starts wrecking shop. I was like, that's really cool, and then they don't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
But that moment was cool.
And we might as well talk about now that the trailers make it seem, or there's a line in the trailer where Kang looks like he's talking to Scott, and he says, I can give you what you want most, time.
Yeah.
Whenever I watched the trailer for the first time, I did a backflip because I predicted it, because it's Marvel and it's very predictable. And so
Not with this.
So we were like, okay, so the plot's just gonna be like Scott is upset that he lost the time with his daughter. His daughter's like a jailbird or whatever now.
And they set that up like you just mentioned at the beginning with like, oh, she's a jailbird. I've missed so many birthdays. Like they're setting up that he has missed so much time with her, and that they are both hurting from it.
It's just kind of like, anyways, that is not the plot. He was saying that line to Janet in a flashback.
Well, he did like offer it for like a quick second, I think, and then Paul Rudd was like, no.
I don't think so. Like, he didn't offer more time. He was just like, I won't kill your daughter.
No, that was when he said no, and then he was like, okay, then I'll kill your daughter.
Well, he didn't. He never offered more time with her.
I thought he offered something. But...
I think he was just threatening to kill Cassie. And it's like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, because it would have been...
That would have been interesting character development for Scott.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have been, actually, because I think... it's stupid. It's all stupid. That seemed more interesting, but I think I still would have been upset with it ultimately, because any movie where Scott doesn't love Cassie is stupid.
Well, I think that would have been great development because it is based on his love for Cassie.
Yeah.
In all these movies, it's like all he wants to be is be a dad. And because of Endgame, he like for the most part missed that chance. And so having that chance to like be a father again and like make things right would have been such a good question for him and for Cassie to be like, do I want to lose my life? Like basically for like us to go back in time and you to be a dad.
I don't think that would have made. I don't think Scott would have hesitated with that. I don't think that would have been an interesting question. At least in the Scott Lang in my head,
I think he would have.
I think he like. I don't think he would have. I think his love for the current Cassie, because it feels weird to us because there was a time skip and it's an actress change and everything, and it feels very awkward. It feels like a different person, but in the story, I think Scott Lang still very much values the Cassie he has now. Yeah, and I don't think for a second he would hesitate to keep that relationship. And like,
I think he would have done that in the end. But it would have been interesting to have him flirt with the idea.
I don't think he would flirt with the idea, though. I just don't. I don't see him doing that.
That's fair.
I think Scott's a very like hard character to write because like most of his flaws.
He's a good person.
Most of his flaws come from most of the flaws comes from the fact that he was a bad person.
Yeah.
And like him just getting involved with the wrong people, and like being forced to like fit into this lifestyle that he was not made for. And that's kind of his gimmick in 1. And then 2, it's more about like Cassie and helping others who need it.
Yeah.
And then 3 is helping others who need it, kind of. And that's more Cassie's arc now.
And the whole like message of the movie or like the arc completion is just, hey, let's quote Scott's book.
Right.
Look out for the little guy.
Okay, look, like, he already wrote the book.
There's always room to grow. Like, come on. I know there was something else I wanted to mention, but I forget. This movie was just very disappointing. Jonathan Majors was really great, but like you said, he came in halfway through the movie. I wanted them instead of being captured by the rebels and not caring about them at all. I wanted them to be captured by Kang immediately and have to go through more than just one trial of like getting the thing he wants, or even like having them get it immediately and then deal with the consequences more. Yeah. And for them to get weirder. Because in some parts of the movie, they do get weird, but not weird enough. Yeah. As they promised and as I wanted.
Well, another topic real quick that I want to hit with the superpowers is Kang. And this movie's point is to introduce Kang And they show him like a few times. They show a few montages of him being like this ultra powerful. Like
Oh yeah.
show my hand at you and you descend. You just pop like a balloon. And then there's multiple scenes where he like just yells and like thrusts his arms out and he shoots like a big aura of blue around him in like a big radius and it eliminates everybody instantly. But then you'll still have him elect to individually shoot like each guy like one at one time. Like, and then he dies to ants.
Yeah.
What are you talking
if you
about?
had Thanos in like the first Iron Man movie and like introduce him in that and then have Iron Man immediately take him down, he would not have been a good villain. Because then in Infinity War, you'd be like, well, Iron Man's here right now and there's like 50 other heroes. Why are they struggling with this? It doesn't make sense. And they made that mistake with Kang.
Well, Hank Pym is here with his ants, so we'll be fine. Well, we can bust right now into the nonsense with the actual or the end credit scene if you want.
Oh yeah,
just with Kang.
I do think they could save themselves with all the multiple Kangs because like maybe Ant-Man could take down one, but he can't take down them all.
There needs to be one. I think that's what they're going to do.
I think that's what they're going to do. Maybe they all meld into one.
I don't think they meld. I think one Kang will rule them all.
I think that'll be the Conqueror. Because I think at the end, it's the MCU. You don't see a body. They're not dead. All we saw was Kang shrink down with the like multiversal
engine core or whatever.
And we saw like Darren when he shrunk down, like he was like melding with like stuff. I don't know. And he became deformed. I think Kang is going to combine with that core. And so maybe he will have access to all of his Kangs.
And then he's the next MODOK.
Yes. He's like, miss me, Scott?
Oh, my God.
Oh, by the way, Cassie just immediately taking down MODOK. That could have been an amazing character moment and struggle with, like, this is the guy who I am traumatized by. And she was scared for a little bit at the beginning, and then when it was time to fight, she was like, "Oh yeah, I got this," and immediately took him down. There's no like internal struggle of like I'm terrified right now.
Right. Well, he wasn't terrifying, and that's what they did with him, and that's what they do with every.
Yeah, but they could have at least made Cassie terrified of him.
Yeah, or they could have, but it wouldn't have made sense, and it would have been like, I don't know. There was a lot wrong with this movie.
Yeah.
A lot wrong with most Marvel movies these days. What do we got next? What's the Marvels? Guardians comes out first? Yeah. Okay.
I have hope for that, just because it seems like an on its own story.
Yeah. But we'll see. Well, that'll be the ultimate test. Yeah. I think James Gunn is self-aware to know to do a story, but I don't know if they'll let him. Yeah. That's the only thing.
Do you have any more thoughts?
I don't think so. I'm happy to wrap it up now.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for listening. As we said earlier, you can find us at That's a Wrap NCR on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube. It helps us out a lot.
Leave a comment, leave a like.
Yeah, and if you want to sponsor us,
do it.
Do it. We'll do anything.
Gladly accept.
Almost anything.
Anything.
Anthony will do anything. I will not.
I will give every MCU movie a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, any insider trading.
I will show.
I'll do it. But anyways, I will not do insider trading. That was a joke. Me 10 years from now. Anyways, thank you all.
With that Austin Jameson guy on his podcast 10
I'm not
years ago?
Gonna be the one. Never mind. We won't get into that. Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Content with this episode.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much, and until next time.
And that's a wrap.